Wednesday, August 13th, brought the bold and the beautiful back to Los Angeles with the kind of layered, pressure-filled drama that has defined this series for decades. Ridge Forrester's return from Italy was not a simple homecoming. It was the moment where unresolved feelings, near tragedy, and looming commitments collided under the same roof, setting the stage for confrontations that could shatter more than just hearts. The episode opened inside Forrester Creations, where the hum of business could not mask the undercurrent of personal tension. Eric Forrester was back at his desk, the patriarch balancing pride in the company's achievements with concern for the personal storm brewing among his family members. Beside him, Ridge and Brooke Logan took their places in the office, a pairing that was professional on the surface, but heavy with unspoken history. The sight of them together again was enough to stir memories and speculation in anyone who knew the pair's past. The reunion was quickly expanded by the arrival of Donna Logan Forrester and Katie Logan. Both women had been deeply worried after hearing about the accident in Italy, the kind of incident that could have easily turned into a devastating headline. Brooke had gone overboard during the trip, a sudden fall into the dark waters that left little room for error. Ridge's reaction had been instant and absolute, diving in without hesitation, pulling her to safety, holding her close in the moments after she gasped for breath on the deck. That rescue had been the turning point of the trip, the moment when business and personal boundaries blurred beyond recognition. Now, standing in the office, Donna and Katie embraced their sister with visible relief. Their gratitude was genuine, but it carried a secondary focus. They turned to Ridge, thanking him for his quick thinking, for the decisive action that had kept Brooke from becoming a tragic memory. Brooke herself added her voice to the praise, speaking of Ridge's courage and timing, her tone carrying an emotional weight that hung in the air long after the words were spoken. Eric added his own acknowledgement, his voice quieter but just as heartfelt. For him, the incident was a sharp reminder of how easily things could be lost. Watching Brooke standing there, very much alive because of Ridge's intervention, brought the point home. It was a sobering thought for a man who had seen his family endure more than its share of heartbreak. Yet behind the gratitude, another layer of tension pulsed. Ridge was engaged to Taylor Hayes, and that commitment was not a vague promise. It was a clear agreement to remarry, to build a life together again, to close the door on the past turbulence with Brooke. The problem was that Italy had not left that door closed. The memory of his kiss with Brooke, the shared moments that had no place between a man and a woman committed to others, had followed him back across the ocean. He had promised Brooke that he would never again take her for granted, a vow meant to draw a line between them without reopening old wounds. But already that promise felt fragile. Standing in the same room with her now, Ridge was aware of how easily it could be broken. The reunion between Ridge and Brooke in Los Angeles was, as expected, tinged with awkwardness. They were not romantically back together, yet they carried themselves like two people aware of the possibility lingering between them. Every glance was a split second too long, every exchange touched by the weight of what had happened in Italy. It was a dynamic that anyone with an eye for emotion could see, and it was only a matter of time before others did. That time came quickly. Taylor was not far from Ridge's orbit for long. Word of his return reached her almost immediately, and when she saw him again, her instincts were sharp enough to register the shift. Something in his demeanor had changed. He was present, but not entirely. His attention was there, but it flickered at moments when it should have been fixed. The woman he had promised to marry could feel the tremor in their foundation, even if the cracks were still hairline. For Taylor, the threat was obvious. Brooke had stolen Ridge's heart before, many times, in fact, and she could do it again. Taylor's determination solidified. She would not let history repeat itself. The rescue story, once it reached her, only deepened her unease. The facts were straightforward. Brooke had fallen overboard, Ridge had saved her life. But the way people spoke about it, the emotion laced into their voices, hinted at something more. Taylor could hear it in the way Brooke praised Ridge, in the way Donna and Katie's gratitude lingered on him. She could see it in the way Ridge listened, his eyes holding an expression that wasn't simply pride in having acted quickly. There was connection there, and connection was dangerous. Still, Taylor made her choice. Rather than confront every uneasy feeling head-on, she pushed forward with her wedding plans. The dress, the ceremony, the promises she had been envisioning would not be derailed by suspicion. She set aside the troubling signs, at least on the surface, determined to secure her future with Ridge before doubts could take deeper root. But even as Taylor pressed ahead, the truth remained. Ridge was in the middle of an emotional crosscurrent, the pull from both sides growing stronger with each passing day. Italy had been more than a trip. It had been a test. One he had failed in ways that could not be entirely hidden. He might not have acted on his feelings beyond that kiss, but he had allowed them to surface, to live and breathe in the space between him and Brooke. And now, back in Los Angeles, that space seemed smaller than ever. The episode closed with the sense that the real consequences of the Italian trip were just beginning to unfold. Ridge's promise to Taylor was intact, but only in form. His promise to Brooke, the one about never taking her for granted again, was already fraying. Brooke, for her part, was careful not to cross the line, yet the look in her eyes made it clear she was not indifferent to what had passed between them. Taylor's instincts told her she was right to be cautious, but her will kept her moving forward as if the danger could be willed away. Eric, Donna, Katie. They had all expressed their relief and gratitude, but beneath it, each of them could sense that the waters around Ridge and Brooke were far from calm. The awkward reunion at Forrester Creations had been polite, even warm in moments, but it was the kind of warmth that could quickly ignite into something more volatile. As the Forresters and Logans carried on with the business of the day, the audience was left with the unmistakable impression that no one had truly returned from Italy unchanged. The second half of the year for the bold and the beautiful is set to ignite in a way that could shake the foundations of both Forrester Creations and the personal lives entwined within it, because Matthew Atkinson has confirmed that he will return as Thomas Forrester in early September. His reappearance is not simply the return of a familiar face. It is the drop of a heavy card onto an already unstable table, the kind of move that rearranges alliances, redraws battle lines, and forces everyone to reconsider their positions in both business and love. Thomas's absence has been felt keenly, though for some it has been a relief. Without his sometimes volatile mix of talent and obsession in the design office, the company has moved forward in a different rhythm. Hope Logan, once his creative partner and the focus of his deeply complicated affections, has had space to breathe, to work, and to redefine herself without his shadow lingering over every sketch and meeting. Paris Buckingham, left in the wake of a broken engagement to Thomas, has also tried to steady her course. But the truth is, the Forrester world has been missing the kind of energy Thomas brings, the kind that can spark brilliance on the runway and chaos everywhere else. Early September marks the end of that calm. The announcement of Matthew Atkinson's return locks in the date. Thomas will walk back into Los Angeles, into the Forrester Creations offices, and into the tangled web of relationships that never truly let him go. His presence is the thick card in the deck, the one that can't simply be slid back in without changing the entire game. In business terms, Thomas's return has immediate implications. His design talent is undeniable, and the fashion house has often relied on his vision to set trends and outpace competitors. His name on a collection can mean the difference between critical acclaim and mediocrity. But with that talent comes unpredictability. Thomas does not just create, he disrupts. He has a way of pulling focus, of making everything orbit around his work and his personal agenda, sometimes blending the two until they're inseparable. That kind of presence in the office will inevitably challenge the current balance of power, especially if Ridge and Eric have to decide where to place their trust and resources in the months ahead. On the personal front, the ripples will be even more dramatic. Hope and Thomas's history is a patchwork of creative highs and emotional lows, of shared victories on the runway and deeply troubling personal entanglements off it. At one point, Thomas's obsession with Hope crossed every line, leading to lies, manipulation, and moments that nearly destroyed her trust forever. And yet, in more recent times, there were flashes of genuine connection, of teamwork that elevated both their careers. That connection, once reignited, had started to move beyond the professional, skirting the edges of something more intimate. Hope had been drawn to Thomas in ways she hadn't anticipated, though she never fully stepped into a committed relationship with him. His exit left those threads hanging unfinished, unresolved, but far from severed. Paris, too, will have to face the return of a man who once promised her a future and then left her standing in the ruins of an engagement. Their relationship had seemed, at least for a moment, like a clear path forward for both of them. It was stable on the surface, offering Paris a place in the Forrester family and Thomas the chance to move into a life unshackled from his history with Hope. But stability has never been Thomas's natural state, and the pull of old feelings, combined with his restless ambition, was enough to break that engagement apart. For Paris, his return could reopen wounds she's tried to close or tempt her into revisiting a connection she's not ready to admit still exists. The tension will not stop there. Thomas's family has always been a source of both support and friction, and his return will put him back into the same rooms with people who have mixed feelings about him at best. Ridge, as his father, has been both a defender and a critic, often in the same conversation. Brooke has never forgotten the ways Thomas hurt Hope, and she will not be quick to trust his intentions now. Steffi, his sister, has stood by him more often than not, but even her loyalty has limits when the stability of the company or the family's reputation is at stake. His re-entry into their lives will force every one of them to take a position, and in a family where personal and professional are hopelessly intertwined, those positions will matter in both boardroom and living room. The timing of Thomas's return is another layer of drama. Early September means he steps back into the picture just as the company is heading into the crucial fall fashion push, a period where design leadership and creative direction are under intense scrutiny. It also puts him in the center of whatever romantic and personal storylines are peaking in late summer, Ridge's torn feelings between Brooke and Taylor, Hope's efforts to move forward without him, Paris's attempts to redefine herself, and whatever other storms are brewing in Los Angeles. One thing is certain, Thomas will not be content to play a background role. Whether he arrives with a plan in place or begins crafting one the moment he steps through the doors of Forrester Creations, his impact will be immediate. He could reinsert himself into Hope's life under the guise of professional collaboration, using the shared history of Hope for the future to bring them back into close contact. He could attempt to repair his relationship with Paris, framing his departure as a mistake he's now ready to correct. Or he could bypass both and set his sights on a completely new objective, one that catches everyone off guard. Whatever his choice, the fallout will be felt across the company and the family. The phrase "thick card" fits Thomas perfectly because his presence forces every other player to reveal more of their hand. If Ridge has been quietly counting on other designers to fill the gap, he'll have to decide whether to risk the stability they've built in exchange for Thomas's creative fire. If Hope has been telling herself she's over him, she'll have to prove it when he's standing inches away, challenging her with every look and every word. If Paris has convinced herself she's moved on, she'll face the test of seeing the man she once planned to marry back in her daily orbit. Even the competitors of Forrester Creations will take notice. Thomas's return will be industry news, sparking speculation about whether the fashion house is poised for another bold, headline-grabbing season or another internal implosion. Clients, media, and rivals will all be watching for signs of where this latest twist will lead. The beauty of Thomas's role in the B&B universe is that his arrival rarely just adds one storyline, it multiplies them. His actions have a way of overlapping, creating intersections where professional rivalry meets romantic jealousy, where family loyalty clashes with personal ambition. By the time early September arrives and Matthew Atkinson steps back into Thomas's shoes, the board will be set for moves that could dominate the rest of the year. For fans, the anticipation lies not just in what Thomas will do, but in how the people around him will react. Will Ridge defend him at the expense of others' trust? Will Brooke see him as a danger to Hope or as an opportunity for the company? Will Steffi try to mediate, or will she take a firm stand? And perhaps most importantly, will Thomas come back seeking redemption, revenge, or something in between? Whatever the answers, his return guarantees that the slow burn of late summer will explode into a season of high stakes, high fashion, and personal drama that no one in Los Angeles can escape.